Hi everyone, I couldn't sleep again, so I thought I'd make a video sharing more experiences I had, and things that happened while just being around Jehovah's Witnesses. A few a few years back, my mother had breast cancer. She was misdiagnosed for 3 years when they didn't say she had cancer at all. And then when she found out she did, she decided to leave the country to get alternative therapy because her cancer had progressed so badly. Um, and thankfully, the alternative therapy worked. But when she returned to the U.S., the doctors where she was said that she needed to have a mastectomy and for them to remove her breast because it was totally metastasized. So, I go with my mom to the hospital to check her in and everything for her surgery. And, she should have been shunning me, of course, but she really didn't have a choice because, I mean, what was she going to do? It wasn't like any of the witnesses were going to show up and help her or anything. Like I told you before in videos before, for some reason, I don't know, the women there never liked my mother. Not that she was a crappy person, but they just never liked her. And so I checked her in the hospital and everything. And meanwhile, myself, my siblings, and my father, who was disfellowship, and my grandmother, my mom's mom, and some of my mother's family, non-witnesses, were all at the hospital while she was having her breast removed. Of course, praying, doing, just trying to keep everybody uplifted. My mom probably would have had a cow if she knew that my dad was there, but what she doesn't know can't hurt her, so she never knew. But this is what I found amazing. Not one person from her Kingdom Hall came to see her while she was in the hospital. Not one elder, ministerial servant, anyone came to see her. Even when she was sick before she left the country, she was still trying to pioneer and knock on doors like crazy. But none of them was even slightly concerned about her, and breast cancer. It really wasn't of a concern. Um, but I will say this, the witnesses did finally put forth the effort. By the time my mom returned home, there was a card in her door and a $5 crumpled up bill. I really don't know what the $5 was really for. Like, I don't even know what that was for. It was probably like 85 people's name on the card and $5. Not that my mother necessarily needed their money. She would have probably preferred just the card, but it was just kind of, I don't know, it was kind of crappy. I didn't like it. Anyway, once they got wind that my mother was home, and I guess they assumed that she was going to die, they didn't feel like she was going to pull through, the phone call started. My mom, I would have to change out. I don't know how much people know about having deep wounds, but back in the day, they used to just like bandage deep wounds, and you would have to change the bandages, and it normally was pretty painful for the person who's had surgery. Now what they do is they put drains in, and what happens is the fluid comes out into these little bulbs, and you have to like remove it, take the bulb off, pour out the gross liquid, measure it, document what color it is because the doctor wants to know all of that. And so meantime, cooking for my mom, helping her, doing all this, trying to get all this stuff done. Anyway, meanwhile, while she's needing to rest from a major surgery, these witnesses are calling her house like 24/7. Oh no, they're not calling to ask if they can help her or do anything. They're calling to ask for money from her. They want money. Apparently, and I don't know, I guess someone was sick with the cancer as well, like my mom. And I guess my mom must have gave them the brochure prior to her going into the hospital of the place that she went, and they found out it was about 25 grand per treatment for the alternative therapy that my mother got, and she got 2 treatments. So they were really kind of surprised about that. So I guess they were like, whoa, she must have a couple of dollars here or there, so let's try to get money out of her. And I had to literally fuss my mom out to tell her to like get off this phone. You need to get better. screw these people that are calling you, because I could give a crap. My grandmother is there, and some witnesses decide to show up at my mom's house. And the first thing that they asked to do is to write out my mother's bills. They needed her checkbook so that they could write her bills out. Needless to say, I'm not going to curse in this video, but what I will tell you is I cursed them out. They got cursed out, period. Like, I cussed them out because that was ridiculous. I told them, I was like, look, my mother has a will. You're not in it. Get out. Don't ever let me see you on my mother's property again. You're garbage. Like, how dare you come and ask for some freaking money? And my grandmother is one of these people who, you know, while she was alive, she was very prim and proper. So to hear someone curse, she would have been really pissed off. But this day, she was sitting there and she was like, good. Because if you wouldn't have cussed them out, I was about to. So, you know, I was like, I just cannot believe that was what she got. You know, no one ever came to make a meal. No one came to see if they could clean her house. And you don't know how many times as a child, my mom and I went to clean plenty of people's houses, cooked plenty of meals when people were sick, babysat, washed clothes, did whatever it took, gave money, you know, whatever it took to help out another fellow witness. But when she was in her time of need, they could give a flying crap about her. They didn't even care. That's why I really still think they probably have a life insurance policy on her, just hoping for her to die so they can collect. Because they just, I mean, not once did one elder call her. Nothing. Not at all. Didn't do it. Wasn't concerned. I think, take that back, one elder did call her because he needed her time for that month. And I think she turned that, you know, she told him that, you know, she had been out of the country for almost 6 months and that she had no time to turn in. And then they told her that if she, that she needed to, they wouldn't have to remove her as a pioneer unless she started turning in hours. And I was just like, okay, whatever you doing, just, you know, have my mother wanted to handle that. She handled it. I don't know what happened with that. She's still pioneering, from what I understand, but I'm just sorry that I have much more of a fiery temper, and if someone ever came to me and did that, I don't even know. Like, I promise you, I would seriously be upset with that. You know, they don't have any love for you. They don't care. They have their own total agenda. And I'm not saying that you necessarily need to seek out a specific place for people just to help you out. But what I'm saying is you definitely need to be around people who have concern for the person that you are. My mother's sister also, my mother drug her into this cult. She was a Christian for many years, and then she converted to being a Jehovah's Witness. And but before she died, her daughters were not witnesses, and they did allow her to have a blood transfusion. And at first, I remember seeing my aunt's eyes when she saw the blood. She looked really upset. But then when she saw my face and my cousins' faces, she realized that it was necessary. The blood did not save her life because she had been, there was a surgical error and they had cut her in her hepatic artery, which is basically almost equivalent to like getting a gunshot wound to the stomach and you basically bleeding out. And that's more or less what happened to her. And so she died in the hospital. But not one time, I was calling her elders over and over again saying, she's very sick. Will you come to comfort or be here or whatever? And they was like, what do you want us to do about that? Like, why are you calling us? It's late. Like, why are you calling us? So at the time, I had a coworker who was a minister who visited hospitals. That's just what she did. And I called her and she knew what was going on with my aunt being sick. And every time I felt very weak during that whole time frame that my aunt was in the hospital over 7 days and was bleeding to death while she was there, I needed someone to lean on. And every time I would call this lady that I knew, a minister, and she would pray with me and just offer support and kindness. And I never forgot that. I remember when my aunt was really close to death, her husband came and he had drove across country and finally got to the hospital, and I had to tell this man that his wife was going to die. And I did. I've never seen a man that was I mean, he's about 6'5", and he literally fell to his knees and grabbed my hand so tight that I felt like my hands were going to break, and just cried. Throughout this whole experience, I didn't really have an opportunity to grieve because I was too busy trying to make sure that supporting my cousins and my aunt and making sure that she was getting the care that she needed to get. Um, Meanwhile, like I said, there was no one that came. No one came. No one was concerned. If that's what you're looking for, become a Jehovah's Witness. That's what you're gonna get. Because they could care. They don't care about you. They do not care. That's because the organization they're a part of has one agenda. It's kind of hard for the head of a company to have a certain mission, and that mission not trickle down to the people, even if it's coming down through brainwashing. It's coming down in the same way. They don't want you to have any space in your life except for you to do what the organization wants you to do. They don't love you. They don't love you, and they never will. All right, you guys. See you in the next video.